What if a single touch could change the course of your relationships, or even alter the way you trust someone? Imagine you're in a meeting. An unfamiliar face extends a hand, and as your palms meet, you feel a jolt of warmth, a subtle electric current, or maybe the chill of hesitation. In that instant, something profound happens. Your brain reacts in ways you may not even notice, but it's making judgments. The handshake, something as seemingly simple as a greeting, sparks a cascade of unconscious responses, triggering complex, emotional reactions that can determine whether you feel trust or suspicion, comfort or discomfort, connection or distance. But here's the paradox. Touch, one of the most basic and universally shared human experiences, remains a mystery in the grand architecture of our minds. We know so much about logic, reason, and language, yet when it comes to how touch shapes our emotions, bonds, and decision-making, the answers are elusive. Why does the brain, an organ built for calculation, deduction, and survival, respond so profoundly to the act of physical contact, especially when it's so primitive in nature? Touch, it seems, isn't just about physical sensation. It's a silent language of its own. Yet, its impact is far from simple. Different types of touch, friendly, aggressive, tender, forceful, carry with them an intricate web of meaning. What if a casual pat on the back could inspire trust, while a too-quick handshake might spark suspicion? In exploring this strange and powerful connection between touch and trust, we might uncover something deeper about our shared humanity, our evolution, and the very ways we build bonds. But to understand this, we have to venture beyond the surface and ask, how does a brief moment of contact go from feeling neutral to profoundly intimate, or even unsettling? Touch, the most primal of human experiences, is often taken for granted, yet it plays an essential role in shaping the brain's response to trust. From the moment of birth, when a mother's touch communicates love and security, the brain begins to associate physical contact with safety. The science behind this connection is intricate, yet profound. When we touch or are touched, specific regions of the brain, the somatosensory cortex, insula, and ventral striatum, spring into action, triggering emotions of connection and trust. Positive touch, like a comforting hug or a reassuring handshake, releases oxytocin and dopamine, reinforcing feelings of safety and bond. This neurobiological response helps form the foundation for trust. But what happens when touch is absent or misinterpreted? Historically, touch has been an integral part of building trust, communication, and connection. In ancient cultures, physical contact, whether a hand placed on the head or an embrace, was a vital way to forge relationships, mark loyalty, and express solidarity. Take the ancient Greeks, where the act of touching or embracing sealed a bond of friendship, or the Ambori people, whose sacred ritual of the hongi represented shared breath, unity, and trust. This physical intimacy was not just symbolic, but functional in creating alliances, ensuring survival, and reinforcing societal ties. Fast forward to the 1950s, and Harry Harlow's research with monkeys revealed just how central touch is to emotional well-being. His experiments proved that even in infancy, the lack of maternal touch led to social and emotional deficits. This foundational research demonstrated that the brain is wired to perceive touch as essential for trust and attachment. More recent studies have expanded on this, showing how touch activates the brain's reward systems, reinforcing the notion that trust is built not just through words, but through physical interaction. In today's world, touch continues to be vital, from handshakes in business to physical reassurance in relationships. But in an age increasingly mediated by technology, the role of touch in fostering trust is becoming strained. In a society where digital communication often replaces face-to-face interaction, we find ourselves more isolated, with fewer opportunities to engage in the physical acts that foster connection. Despite this, the need for trust remains urgent, especially in times of social fragmentation. As we navigate a world that grows more digital and less tactile, one of the core questions arises: if touch is so critical to our sense of trust and connection, why do we struggle so much with intimacy? In a hyperdigital world, it seems we are on the verge of losing something essential, something deeply human, if we continue to let touch fade into the background. A breakthrough discovery in neuroscience has begun to unravel a paradox. Touch, it turns out, can override even the most rational judgments, influencing our decisions and perceptions in ways we never imagined. In a landmark study conducted in the last few years, researchers found that when subjects were exposed to a brief touch, say, a gentle tap on the arm or a handshake, their ability to make logical, reasoned decisions was significantly altered. In fact, touch has been shown to trigger areas of the brain associated with emotional rather than cognitive processing, bypassing logic altogether. Participants in these experiments, when touched in a comforting way, made decisions that favored trust, cooperation, and empathy, even if the logical choice would have been to act more cautiously or self. This suggests that touch doesn't just affect how we feel about others, it actually reshapes our decision-making process. The implication is staggering. A single touch could sway the course of an entire negotiation, alter political loyalties, or shift the outcome of an election. But the most unexpected twist of all is this. Recent findings have called into question the very idea that trust is purely an emotional, organic response to touch. The brain, some researchers suggest, doesn't process trust in the linear, logical way we've always thought. Instead, it might be that trust, or at least the perception of it, can be manipulated by subtle physical cues that we are unaware of. Touch, when used strategically, could foster a false sense of trust, creating bonds where none truly exist, or perhaps solidifying toxic relationships. If touch can shape our understanding of trust to this degree, we face a dilemma. How can we trust the trust-building power of touch itself? What happens when this knowledge is used with intent? In a world where power dynamics are already skewed, this scientific discovery raises profound ethical concerns. Should we trust our instincts about touch, or can someone who understands the neurological mechanisms of touch manipulate us to isolate? The brain's response to touch may be an unconscious force, but the ramifications for relationships, politics, and society are all too conscious. As scientists continue to delve deeper into the neuroscience of touch, conflicting views have emerged about its true nature and purpose. On one hand, some researchers argue that touch is an ancient evolutionary tool, fine-tuned over millennia to foster trust, cooperation, and bonding. They suggest that the brain's response to touch is rooted in survival and instinctual mechanism that encourages social cohesion, strengthens alliances, and builds communities. Touch, in this view, is a pro-social force, deeply embedded in the evolution of human beings as a means to reinforce solidarity and trust. On the other hand, a growing body of research presents a more cynical interpretation. Touch is not simply a force for good, but a powerful manipulation tactic used in power dynamics. In this camp, scientists point to the ability of physical touch to influence behavior, sway decisions, and even alter the perception of reality. One study, for instance, showed that people who received a friendly pat on the back or a light touch on the arm were more likely to comply with requests or feel a sense of obligation to the person who touched them. This finding opens a Pandora's box. If touch can manipulate behavior at such a fundamental level, is it ethical to use it for strategic gain? Could leaders or marketers exploit this for personal, financial, or political advantage? In modern society, the role of social touch, the casual yet deeply meaningful gestures, like a hand on the shoulder, a pat on the back, or a hug, has been shown to be crucial in both personal relationships and broader societal contexts. In therapy, for example, physical contact is often used as a tool for emotional regulation, helping individuals feel more grounded, understood, and connected. Studies suggest that touch can play a significant role in diffusing conflict and fostering cooperation, whether in family dynamics or high-stakes business negotiations. But as we move further into the digital age, where physical contact is increasingly replaced by virtual interactions, the potency of social touch is increasingly questioned. In online spaces, a virtual touch often takes the form of a like or a comment, but these digital interactions cannot replicate the emotional and physiological effects of a real, human touch. The digital age also introduces a new layer of complexity: misinformation and manipulation. In the realm of politics and marketing, the ability to manipulate touch, or at least the perception of it, has become a potent tool for control. Consider the example of politicians or celebrities who often engage in calculated comforting gestures, like touching a person's arm or offering a hug during times of crisis. While these gestures may appear genuine, research shows that they can be easily manipulated for image control. A study on political leaders found that voters were more likely to trust a candidate who initiated physical contact in a gesture of empathy, even if the candidate had no prior history of compassion. This exploitation of touch, whether in political campaigns or advertising, reveals a darker side, one where the authenticity of human connection is sacrificed in favor of emotional manipulation for political or financial gain. As these various conflicting views and realities converge, the core question becomes increasingly urgent. How can we discern genuine, trustworthy touch from its manipulative counterparts? In an era where social media, algorithms, and deepfakes all work to distort reality, we are left to wonder how much of our understanding of trust, connection, and humanity has been warped by the very thing that is meant to build it: touch. A startling breakthrough. Recent neuroscientific research has revealed that touch may not be just a tool for bonding, trust, or social connection, as previously believed. It might be an even deeper survival mechanism, influencing our brains in ways we never anticipated. While it was once assumed that touch's primary role was to foster cooperation and empathy, new findings suggest it could be far more fundamental, an ancient instinct designed not merely to build relationships but to protect us from danger and reinforce self-preservation. In a series of groundbreaking experiments, scientists discovered that the brain reacts to touch with a complex mix of responses, some of which are self-interested rather than altruistic. For instance, when touched in a way that triggers a sense of safety or affection, the brain simultaneously ramps up cognitive focus, sharpening awareness of potential threats. This suggests that touch is, in fact, hardwired to heighten our fight-or-flight responses, preparing us for danger, even when we're engaged in seemingly innocent interactions. In essence, touch appears to activate a dual-purpose system. It fosters trust and connection, yes, but it also primes us for survival, pushing our instincts to assess threats, weigh risks, and protect ourselves. The implications of this discovery are profound. What if our understanding of morality, ethics, and empathy, concepts that we typically think of as deeply social or philosophical, are, in part, influenced by this ancient survival mechanism tied to touch? Early studies now show that the moral compass we associate with being good or bad might not only be shaped by cultural and societal norms, but also by the subconscious impact of touch. When we experience certain types of touch, whether comforting or uncomfortable, it influences how we perceive right and wrong, how we respond to the suffering of others, and even how we make decisions that affect the collective. The realization that our instincts around touch might actually be self-serving, designed to ensure personal safety and survival, reframes everything we thought we knew about human connection. What we considered an act of kindness or empathy could be, in fact, a deeply ingrained survival instinct, primed to manipulate and preserve. This intellectual shock challenges the narrative we've been told about touch as purely a bonding tool. Trust, affection, and manipulation, all elements we assumed were about forming genuine relationships, may, in reality, be secondary byproducts of a primal survival system built to serve our own interests. If touch is, at its core, about survival rather than social connection, then the very essence of human relationships, our capacity for trust, morality, and empathy, becomes suspect. Are we truly bonding with others out of love, or are we simply responding to deeply ingrained instincts designed to help us survive, even at the expense of others? The truth about touch, it seems, is far more complicated than we ever imagined. The emerging science on touch and its profound impact on human behavior has led to groundbreaking insights into how the brain processes and responds to physical contact. Researchers now understand that touch is not just a superficial or simple act of affection. It's intricately linked to our brain's decision-making processes, survival instincts, and societal behaviors. Recent studies show that when we experience touch, it triggers a complex neural response that involves both emotional and cognitive processing. This means that physical contact plays a central role in not just fostering connection but also in guiding our judgments and actions, often bypassing conscious thought. Touch influences the release of oxytocin, which fosters feelings of trust, but it also activates areas of the brain responsible for threat detection and self-preservation, highlighting its dual role as both a bonding and survival mechanism. This deeper understanding of touch dispels many myths. such as the notion that touch is merely a form of affection or an emotional cue. It's clear now that touch is deeply entwined with our decision-making, often shaping our perceptions of trust, loyalty, and safety at a subconscious level. While many of us have long believed that touch was purely about affection or intimacy, the reality is far more nuanced. Touch is a primal tool for assessing safety and risk, an evolutionary mechanism designed to help us navigate social environments and make split-second decisions that impact our survival. It's not just about forming close relationships or comforting others. Touch is about evaluating and responding to the world around us. However, this knowledge also forces us to reconsider its use in a modern context. In an increasingly touch-deprived society, where digital interactions often replace physical presence, we face a growing dilemma. Touch is both a unifying and dividing force, has the power to build trust, empathy, and social cohesion, but it can also be used manipulatively or to reinforce power dynamics. In a world where we are more isolated than ever, yet connected digitally at all times, how do we navigate the complex terrain of human interaction and trust building? As we look ahead, the future of touch in human relationships will likely be shaped by the tension between technological advances and the enduring need for physical connection. Technologies like virtual reality and haptic feedback are already being developed to simulate physical touch in digital spaces. These innovations promise to bridge the gap between physical touch and virtual interactions, offering a new layer of human connection in our increasingly digital lives. Yet, the fundamental need for genuine, in-person interaction remains irreplaceable. The challenge moving forward will be finding a balance. How do we integrate these new technologies without sacrificing the emotional depth and intuitive responses that real human touch provides? As society continues to evolve, understanding the science of touch and trust will be essential in fostering both personal relationships and larger societal cohesion in an increasingly fragmented world. As we stand on the precipice of an increasingly digitized future, one might ask, is touch the ultimate bridge between minds, or could it be the most dangerous weapon in shaping trust? We often speak of touch as the bond that connects us to each other, the mechanism that forms the foundation of human connection and empathy. Yet, as we've seen, touch's influence is not solely benign. It's a force capable of manipulation, coercion, and control. Its power can bring people together, but it can also be wielded in ways that distort reality, shape power dynamics, and even undermine genuine connection. In this light, touch becomes not just a biological phenomenon but a tool that can be used for good or ill, depending on the hands that wield it. So, we must ask ourselves, can we trust touch? And if so, can we wield it responsibly? Knowing its complex, dual nature, in its most primal form, touch is the very foundation of who we are as social beings. It is ancient, instinctual, and biologically hardwired into our brains. Yet, as our world becomes more virtual, more digitized, and more fragmented, we face a crucial question. Does touch belong only in the realm of instinct, or can it be something more? Could touch evolve from a mere survival mechanism into a conscious, ethical tool for growth, compassion, and mutual understanding? As we look to the future, perhaps we must reconsider how we approach touch, not just as something that happens instinctively, but as something we choose to engage with mindfully and ethically, understanding its power to shape our relationships, societies, and even our collective morality. In a world where virtual connections grow increasingly dominant, the act of touching one's a fundamental part of human interaction is becoming more scarce. Yet, in the absence of physical connection, there is a heightened need for touch's emotional power. How do we reimagine the act of touching in a time when it's both more needed than ever and increasingly difficult to find? As we navigate the complexities of a virtual world, perhaps the true question is not whether we can still touch, but how we might reclaim its meaning in a way that serves not only our survival, but our highest ethical aspirations.